I'm quite sure all of you have heard Martin Luther King Jr.'s most famous speech, "I had a dream." Well, he didn't just have a dream. He lived for that dream, and ultimately, he gave his life fighting to achieve his dream. It was a Sunday night in my hometown, Mexicali. My parents and I were coming out of a movie theater, and we stopped at a store to watch a black and white TV display. It was July 20th, 1969, the night of the first moon landing. Mesmerized by the grainy images of the astronauts taking their first steps on the moon, I look up at the moon and I ask my dad, "How far is it?" "It's far," he replied. "Do you think I can go there one day?" I ask. My mother's response still resonates in my heart. You can achieve anything you set your mind to if you're willing to do the work and put your mind and effort into it. At that moment, I decided to dream big, to be an astronaut. By the time I turned 20, the dream that meant everything to me had already faded into the background of my life. The stars that once looked within reach looked like distant specks, overshadowed by the weight of reality and the expectations to follow a conventional path. I was halfway through the university, studying planning engineering, and was also pursuing human resources. From going to the moon to human resources, my dream hadn't disappeared. It just faded up into the background and under the weight of reality. Does this sound familiar to you? We all start with dreams, bold, beautiful visions of the future. Dreams that light the way, that make us believe in something bigger. Yet, somewhere along the way, we get stopped in the endless cycle of chasing. Like running a treadmill, sweating and striving, yet never actually moving forward. Why is that? Because nobody tells us to stop chasing and start catching. We live in a culture that glorifies the hustle, the grind, the chase. We're told, dream big, chase your dreams. But no one tells you how to stop chasing and start catching. The truth is, chasing without a plan is not progression, it's exhaustion. So this is the big idea I want to take away today. Life is not just about the chase, it's about the catch. Catching your dreams is not running harder or faster. It's stepping back, reflecting, and building a framework that can turn your dreams into achievable realities. This is how that looks like in real life. Purpose, persistence, plan. Let me explain. Purpose. Why does this dream matter? That is the question I ask myself when things get hard. Purpose is the anchor that keeps me steady when the storm comes. Studies show that people with a strong sense of purpose are more likely to keep going when things get hard. Study from Stanford found that students who connect their work to a bigger mission are more resilient and perform better. So if we stay connected to our purpose, we can achieve our dreams. Number 2, plan. The road to my dream. A dream without a plan is just a wish. Science proves that people who set goals are 42% more likely to achieve them than those who don't. A study from Dominican University found that people that not only set goals but also create an action plan and track their progress are 76% more successful than those who don't. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a starting point and the willingness to adapt along the way. The difference between a dream and a goal, a plan. Number 3, persistence, the grit factor. The very first TED Talk I ever watched was Angela Duckworth's talk on grit, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. She explains that success is not related to being the smartest or the most talented, but to perseverance. Her research shows that grit, passion, and persistence for long-term goals is a better predictor to success than IQ or raw talent. if I continue to show up, to learn and adapt, I will achieve my dream. Now, let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I met a young man named Pedro who grew up in a rural community in central Mexico. Pedro had a dream. He wanted to start his own organic vegetable farm and sell his produce at the regional farmers market. But for years, he was stuck in the chase, struggling with unpredictable weather, working on small plots of land, and never producing enough to create a real profit. He was exhausted and started to lose hope. I sat across from Pedro and I asked him, Pedro, tell me, what's your purpose? Why do you want to farm? It was like he never even asked himself the same question. It was that point in the conversation that his face lit up. He shared his plan with me. He wanted to produce healthy food for his family and neighbors while creating a lasting legacy for his children. We review his plan. Thank you. Well, and I use the term plan loosely here because his plan was plan. Get seed, put in the ground, cross his fingers, and hope it grows food. Well, that was no plan. That was fantasy. So we created a plan where he can learn, adapt, and shift according to the conditions. He'll learn how to get better seeds according to his soil and how to rotate his crops to get better yields. I asked him, Pedro, what changes have you made after failed crops or bad weather? How have you adapted your farming to the conditions? A small look of shock came over him. He had been doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So we created a plan, and we put it to work. He set a goal to dedicate a portion of his land to high-demand vegetables and sell them at the local market and reinvest his earnings into better seeds and tools. Today, Pedro not only runs a successful farm, but only teaches others in his community how to improve their yields. He didn't just chase his dream, he caught it, and then he gave it away to others. He shared it. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's great for Pedro, but what about me, right? Well, the thing is, you don't have to be extraordinary to catch your dreams. You just need a system. So, here are 3 strategies you can use to catch your dreams. Be specific. Don't just say, I want to be successful. Or don't say, I want to make a difference. What does success look like? How does making a difference feel like? Break it down. Big dreams can feel overwhelming. Start with one actionable step you can take today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Number 3, stay flexible but focus. Life will throw you curveballs. You may change course, but if you stay connected to your purpose, you will always find the way back. The truth is, dreams are not meant to stay out of reach. They're meant to be caught, lived, and transformed into something meaningful. The path to my dream: shift, change, and evolve. My childhood dream of becoming an astronaut, was long back, buried in my life, that I barely think about it anymore. By the time that I hit 40, that dream was buried in the back of my life. I have done almost everything in my life except go to the moon. I spent 20 years in human resources. I got married, I got divorced, 1 incredible daughter, 3 dogs. Love my dogs. I completed a bachelor's degree, 2 masters, and I completed a doctoral program. I was inducted into Alpha Chi, one of the most prestigious academic honor societies. I became HR manager for an international division of a manufacturing company. And then the company sold, and I got laid off. And if that wasn't enough, I busted my knee. Recovery, 6 months. I needed to work. So I started as a substitute teacher. Eventually, I landed a role with a school district here in Yuma working in the migrant education program. It felt like an act of God when I got that job. One day, my supervisor called me to her office. I sat down and she slid a packet of papers across the desk. I looked down and read, Space Academy for Educators application packet. How is this even possible? My dream had been buried in the back of my life. But this time, I had the opportunity to learn about space. Not as an astronaut, but as an educator. And maybe, just maybe, one of my students will go and work for NASA and go to the moon. I applied. I was accepted into Space Academy for Educators at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Not only that, I graduated at the top of my class, earning a place at the Advanced Academy at Kennedy Space Center. After graduation, I was chatting with one of my professors, and half-jokingly I said, I should work for NASA. How do you get this job? My professor looked at me and said, just apply, and they call you. Sometimes the plan really is that simple. At that exact moment, the director of education programs was walking by. My professor called her over and told her, you know this guy? You should hire him. The director turned at me and asked, you want to work for us? I was shocked. Like Pedro. How is this even possible? Could this be real? I worked for NASA as a teacher counselor, and it felt like walking on the moon, at least to me. And when I never became an astronaut, the experience taught me invaluable lessons. Lessons I now use to help others catch their dreams. Seeing them succeed is one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Dreams are not supposed to flourish. Sometimes your dreams show up in a different way than you imagine them. But if you stay connected to your purpose, if you create and adapt your plans, and you persist, you will catch your dreams. So, what is your dream? What is your moon landing? My challenge to you is, stop chasing, start catching. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a starting point right now. Because at the end of the day, life is not just about the chase. It's about the catch. Thank you.